Abhijit.
Like
I know I'm fucking up that word again.
Abhijit
Chavda, America's Dark Truth Hidden from the World Population, the Ranveer Show. Let's do it.
The privilege, they don't get access to those sales skills, to those people skills, even if they were as intelligent as you pound for pound, if they had the exact same neural patterns as you. So white privilege is a thing. Racism that black people face in America is a thing. I'd like to know what you think. And my actual question to you is going to be a brutal question, but it's been a while since America got independence. It's been a while even since Martin Luther King Jr., rest in peace. But why do black people still face that level of racism in America today?
They sure do. There's something called racial profiling. If you're a black person, you're way more likely to be stopped by a cop if you're driving a car.
Yeah.
You're way more likely to be shot by a cop for no reason whatsoever. The racial profiling is very much a thing. These days, there is a lot of talk about this, so it may have come down, but the incidents still occur. And that's why Black Lives Matter became a thing. Now, if you want to understand the root cause of this, let's go back to the US independence, the War of Independence. George Washington won it. They ousted the British, the Redcoats. There was the Declaration of Independence, and then you had the Constitution of the US, which was drafted, which says that we, whatever it says, we the people, we believe that all men are born equal, blah, blah, blah. And then this constitution was ratified by the citizens of the US, which means the constitution was put to a vote. Do you accept this constitution or not? And it was, the result was yes. Now, who voted for this? Who was allowed to vote?
White men.
Only white men, and not just all white men, landowners. So a small fraction of the population was allowed to vote whether they want
do you know
the
why that
constitution
was?
or they reject it. Women.
Do you know why that was?
Was that only white people?
No, not white people. Why landowners could vote back then?
Why was it only white?
Because back then you had to be invested in America to vote for American policies. And back then, that was the landowners. We didn't have all the renting and stuff that we have now.
I can understand that because back then, black people weren't even allowed to own shit.
Right.
because they care enough of what goes on into the country.
Right.
So that's what.
So that's why the landowners had to vote. And also, when you're thinking about it, we don't have the size of the country that we have right now when they were voting for that.
And this is what. So I think he's about to say it.
Allowed to vote whether they want the constitution or they reject it. Okay. Women had no vote. Nope. Landless white men had no vote.
Nope.
Black people had no vote. The true natives of America had.
Okay, so this may be I don't really consider myself a feminist, and don't freak out. That doesn't mean I'm against women's right to choose or anything. I don't understand what the logic is between some people saying back then, and I've seen it a little bit still today, of why women shouldn't have been able to vote. I don't understand what the logic behind that is. Like, is there a rationale you're using, or is it just people being assholes?
No, back then it was because, again, it was the men that worked the land. It was the men that did all the hard work. It was the men that did...
Women usually stay at home, take care of the kids.
Family.
So how does that make... So back then, if a woman's job was to just stay at home and raise the kids, okay?
That wasn't their job. That's just what they did.
That's okay. So
yeah.
If
men go out there and they see the world more than what women do. They see what goes on.
Women were protectors of the homestead. Men were protectors of the country. That's why men went to go die and went and fought wars. Women didn't. They stayed home.
So is that the rationale for it? They just stayed home? There's nothing for them to worry about, so why vote?
No, the rationale was men were going to go die for the country. Women weren't, so men get to vote. Men put their lives on the line and died. Women didn't. Because women were needed. Because they can actually replace the population.
Yeah.
Women were too valuable to be sent to death.
We make babies.
Women are too valuable to be sent to death.
Like that. Okay, so that's the rationale for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In a short-winded, without going into a 3-hour long discussion of why.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
If you want to break down every little nuance.
All right.
It's, in the simplest terms, men went and died for the country. They voted for the country.
Okay.
It's honestly why it's why some people today say a woman can't be president. Because why should a woman go send men to die when women don't have to be sent to die? Women don't get drafted.
Can women see war now? I thought they could. I thought that changed.
They choose to go. The Democrats are trying to get them to be drafted. But women right now, as of today, are not part of the draft. Men, when they turn 18, are required under threat of being jailed to sign up for the draft. Women do not have to sign up for the draft. So that's why a lot of men would be like, why would I sign up for a military under a female leader? I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying there's a lot of men that feel I'm not going to go to die for a woman.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the reasoning for this shit. That's
I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. Like, for the life of me, I never, like...
And
But if you're putting it that way, because men can't repopulate the world.
Nope, women can. That's why women are more valuable
So
than
if
men.
if you're putting it that way, I can understand that. What's Creole saying?
No, I'd say women were way better chefs. Men have to work twice as hard to be as good of a chef.
To me, I just feel like men do a lot in society too, but women do a lot. I feel like everybody does a lot in society.
Women are the nurturers, men are the fodder. Women nurture society. Men build society. Look around you. Everything was built by a man. Everything
I
was
feel
built by
like
a
when
man.
it comes to the nurture side, women are 10 times better at that.
Oh yeah,
They're
that's
like,
oh, yeah.
100 times better at that. Which is why, to me, I think in processing and thinking things out, I think women are better at it than men.
No. Depends on, because women let their emotions get into it too much. Women make more emotional, and I'm not trying to offend you women, but women make more emotional decisions than men. Men make logical decisions when women make emotional decisions.
There are women that obviously don't let the emotions get in.
Yeah, but that's very few.
Like me, I think I put myself into people's shoes to think why. You see what I'm saying? Even though I don't like it, I don't let my emotion get in the way and be like, no, I don't like what that person is doing, and that's it. You see what I'm saying?
I see. I get what Liz is saying, and I get like the emotional aspect. I mean, but see, like, I also feel like men are just like taught to like deal with shit.
Yeah.
Like, we're not supposed to be vulnerable.
Yep, that's exactly how.
Well, now in these days is
Like,
is,
men are.
is
But
being
then
the
again,
reverse.
I've seen a lot of
Back in
bitch
the
ass
day.
dudes.
That's what I'm saying. Now
Like-
in these days,
like-
it's gonna be more bitch ass dudes.
There's a lot of like maybe it's just there's a lot of I've seen a lot of bitch ass dudes
Oh, there is a lot of
who
bitch ass
like
dudes. Don't get me wrong.
who like it ain't about you, bro. It's about the situation. Let's get this shit together.
Mhm.
Let's fix this. Like,
It's just you can't put generalities on it. You really, really can't.
and I think I think also what's it has like confused things is just like I've said it before. Every 10 years there's a major like societal change.
We're going through one right now.
Yeah, I think the reason why everybody gets pissy, every 10 years society changes in a major way. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it. All you can really do is learn how to adjust to it. There's no button that says, all right, we need to stop doing this. It's like time doesn't stop for anybody. It doesn't care what situation you're in. Time doesn't stop.
You're right on that, Creole.
Yeah.
Creole, you're probably in that small percentage of women that can make decisions thoughtfully.
Personal question, Ian. Do you have a... It's just me. It's just me right now. You know.
It's just like the small percentage of men that make emotional decisions. Those are the men you don't want to be around when shit hits the fan.
But I've also, and looking at political stuff, I've noticed that there's times where I've made emotional reactions, and then there's logical. Like, the times that I've made emotional reactions is during the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Yep.
During the whole controversy of Trump presidencies in politics and stuff. I used to be like, oh, all cops are bad, fuck the police. But then when you, over time, you thinking about it, I'm like, well, shit, if you get rid of the cops, who's going to arrest people? Like, what we just going to do, have like a community center where you lock, like, what are you going to do?
It's not working too well in San Francisco right now.
But then I'm looking at, like, everyone freaks out about the politics shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we're really getting mad if someone's like a Biden supporter, or we're really getting mad if someone's a Harris supporter or a Trump supporter or whatever. I'm like, it's a constitutional right. How are you going to tell people who they can and can't vote for? Like even just scratch the Constitution. Like, say the Constitution wasn't, like, it like didn't exist. Just looking at things now, it's like, how do you forcibly tell how do you get mad at someone for saying, oh, you like Joe Biden? I don't like you. Like, you know how weird that is? Or to say, oh, this person doesn't like Trump. Oh, I can't be friends with you. That's really weird if you think about it in the long term of things.
Except, Ian, about 90% of the time, it only goes one way. How many times have we seen the videos of the person who was a diehard Biden supporter, went to my first Trump rally, and was shocked at the way that they were treated? And then they took their friend from the Trump rally to the Biden rally and was hit with the most vitriol, racist stuff that they've ever heard in their entire lives.
So that's crazy.
Just because they went to the Trump rally.
That's crazy, man. That's
It's not so much of people getting mad at somebody because they want to vote for Biden. They're like, I feel sorry for you. But people who get mad at people for voting for Trump want to kill them.
To me, that's wild. Mm-hmm. Like, you really gonna hate someone? That's like, honestly, that's like hating someone because they're either Christian or they're Muslim. I don't like what you believe in, so you can't come around here. Like, that's weird. Oh yeah, Creole, yeah, that's the Creole. Don't you know?
That's what Biden said.
Don't you know?
Oh yeah.
Don't you know, Creole? Yeah.
You're not going for
Don't
me,
you know?
You ain't black, right? Is that what he says?
So I kind of understand with what they're coming with the racism on this talk, but they're also missing a lot of it too.
Yeah.
I also think racism is very generational.
And it's something that you got to explain.
The racism today
carefully
is
too.
not the same as it was in the 60s.
No. Because I think it's more classism than it is racism.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah,
it's more classism than racism.
But I've noticed it is. I'm like, this whole thing, like, I don't know where this narrative is that people like that white people gotta apologize for being white. Like, how the fuck you gonna apologize for being white? Like, I don't understand that. No. I don't need you to, like, white people, I don't need you to apologize to me for being white. Like, you can't control that. Your parents procreated and made you.
You can't make...
like, that's not your control, man.
You can't make up for what your ancestors did. You can just be better. There is no paying back what they did because you weren't alive to change anything that happened while they were alive. All you can do is be a better person today in this moment. If my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather killed your great-great-great-great-grandfather, I'm not paying you because of what my great-great-great-grandfather did to your great-great-great-grandfather. We're both here and alive today.
Vito, we're the time machine out. We got beef, bro. We gotta solve this right now, man.
You know what I mean?
But it's like, to me,
I'm not the one that shot your grandfather.
It's like, to me, when we're talking about slavery. Okay?
Yeah.
Terrible thing that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to say the terrible thing that happened. Okay?
Still happening in the world today, by the way.
And still happening in the world today. And America wasn't the only place it was happening in.
And it wasn't the place where it started either.
So, if I'm looking at the history, right, like, The Portuguese had slaves. And correct me if I'm wrong. The Portuguese had slaves. Egyptians had slaves. Jewish people were enslaved.
Indians had slaves because they enslaved the tribes that they conquered.
Yes. Africans had slaves. Africans sold
Still have
out
slaves.
the poor people to the white settlers.
It was African tribes that were selling their own, conquered peoples.
I
To the
think
white man.
what needs to be understood in a more broader way is like, look at everybody who had a hand in the slave trade.
You're right, Creole.
Like, everybody had a hand in the slave trade.
Oh yeah,
Everybody. Humans were like currency.
all the way from England to
Yeah.
And
Europe, all the way to
put
here.
it this way, slavery was to me was bad. It was. I don't understand how there's any other word to describe
even
it.
when they were doing the exchange,
It was
with
bad.
Columbus, they had they had slaves come over with diseases, and that's when a lot of
Yeah, everyone like
the Americans, how you call them, the Indians,
Native Americans.
Native Americans, they died because it was like too overwhelming. It was like it was bad. What I remember.
there's nothing good about slavery.
No,
There was nothing good about it. There was nothing.
the only good thing is we ended it.
Yeah, black people have
In this
black
country.
slaves too.
We ended it in this
And
country.
I saw reparations trending the other day, and I'm like I said before, I am not against reparations, but you need to show me a clear way of how you're going to distribute this shit.
Yeah.
You need to prove that you're a descendant of a slave, and you should also, and if you're going to be paying reparations, what about to the Union soldiers that died to free the slaves? Should those families get paid out as well?
Like,
There's a lot that needs to go into it.
Like,
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of white people that die to free the slaves.
Yeah, that's why I said I just forget about it.
That's true.
I just can't.
There's a lot of Union soldiers that died to free the slaves.
that's true.
And not to mention, I am sure there is a white person today that has ancestrally black slaves.
I think Beto O'Rourke did like a thing. Looked at his family history, and I think his family owned slaves.
But wasn't there a black lady that had a white that her family was white slave owners?
Interesting.
She couldn't believe it.
See, like,
That's
even black people own slaves in America.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, black
Yep.
people. Yeah,
But like,
it's insane.
it's crazy, man. There's just so much to know about it.
slavery was a terrible, dark period.
It's just people want to keep
Oh,
that
excuse
part
me.
of it alive to keep us divided.
We're the only country that learned the fastest from it and fixed it faster than any other country in the world. We're still one of the youngest countries in the world.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that America is still technically an experiment.
We've only been around for a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
No vote. Black people had no vote. The true natives of America had no vote. Do you think this is a democratically instituted constitution? This is an illegitimate constitution. This is the very root cause of everything. And in the Declaration of Independence, they call they portray the Indians as savages. They call them Indians. The savage, brutal, or whatever Indian. I don't remember what the term is. It's a very derogatory
sure.
term that they have used for the natives of the Americas
I
in
see
the
what
Declaration of
Creole means by
Independence.
that.
Yeah, there was a
So
lot
the
of
very
graping back in the
foundation, the
day.
very root of the country is steeped in exclusivism and racism and sexism. And that's the root of the country. The whole nation was born out of that.
And possibly homophobia.
See, I don't agree with that at all.
There was no mention of homosexuality.
What?
I don't agree with that at all.
What?
It wasn't built out of sexism and racism and everything else. That's not how this country was started. I don't agree with that at all. Just because it was the landowners that voted and stuff. Yeah, I don't agree with that statement at all.
I think that
Because if you
Shit, I
can
don't
sit
know
there and
about
argue
this.
that this country was born out of evil, that it deserves to be destroyed, and that I don't believe that at all.
I think, shit, it's hard to like. What was the thing I used to say, Vito? Fuck, it was like I said like America's not. Oh, I think the reason why it seems that way is because for so long it was run by fucked up people.
Yeah.
So, for example, when America first started, 1776, right? That's when we got the independence.
Bye, Creole. Good seeing you.
Oh, okay. Take care, Creole. Glad you could come in. But like when America, 1776, right?
Yep.
Like, if you just watch documentaries, first of all, no one fucked with anybody. Black people didn't like white people. White people didn't like black people. Asians didn't like black people. Asians didn't like white people. The Native Americans didn't like black. No one fucking liked each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe the intent for the melting pot was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
However, I just think you've had over time, you've had messed up people and assholes running shit. For example, if you took everybody over time who was an asshole, racist, homophobic, and all that, took them out and replaced people who were like, yeah, I don't care what your skin color, religion, sexual orientation, all that is, America's a utopia.
See, the whole point was supposed to be you're able to say you're hateful, you're disrespectful, you don't, because we can say, okay, that person, we don't want it, we know that they're like that, they're allowed to say that, we don't like listening to it, they can stay over there.
Yeah, put your mean ass over there.
See, the people forget the whole point of freedom is being able to listen to, and the whole point of freedom and freedom of speech is being able to listen to speech you do not agree with.
Yeah.
The whole point of accepting freedom of speech is accepting the fact that somebody, and they might be a terrible person, could come up to Ian and call him the N-word.
And I got a right to show how stupid you are.
Exactly.
I may not have the right to hit you.
Free speech is him saying it to Ian and Ian being able to say, you're a fucking idiot.
I also do
among some other things I'm sure you would say, but that's besides the point.
As vulgar as some people can be to each other, I do believe that if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have a country.
Exactly. So as disgusting as it is, that person should still be allowed to come up to Ian and say that.
Democratic country,
don't
constitutional republic, however the fuck people want to call it nowadays, if you don't have freedom of speech, first of all, you don't have either of those two.
Well, if you don't have freedom of speech or a border, you don't have a country. Kind of need a border to have a country.
That's true too. That's true.
Yeah.
But freedom
of speech.
Because there's different laws and in each country. That's why the borders exist. Because you're making that's like your home. Your country is your home.
That's like when some people want like these platforms to like watch what people say. I'm like, bro. You don't want that.
No, you do not.
You don't want that, because then if that happens, then you're saying there should be designated people who can decide what and how people can say things.
Yeah, no,
and you don't want that.
That's what the government does, because the government wants to be able to dictate what you can and cannot say.
And then there's some citizens who want that. I'm like, that's not
freedom.
Not
what you want. That's not freedom.
That's not freedom. That's
the government's not supposed to protect you from things that you don't want to be heard. No. That is not a government protection you're entitled to.
No, yeah.
I think we gotta finish this.
Mm-hmm.
Sexuals at the time, but I'm sure, well, it's a Christian nation. Christianity brings with itself homophobia. It's part of Christianity. Whether you like it or not, just read the books, the holy texts. So the entire nation was built on the backs of the slave labor of the black, of the African American men, women, and children. It was also built on the genocide of the Native Americans. That is the true truth of the nation. The entire economy for the first couple of 100 years was built on the back of slave labor. It was built out of stolen land. land that had been stolen from the true owners of the land, right? Eventually, you
don't
had
agree-
industrialization and all.
don't agree with
but
that at all.
even then,
The true owners of the land would be the person who owns the land. Just because your land was conquered, that's what happens. Look at all over Europe. How did Germany start? How did England start? How did Ireland start? How did Spain start? Do you think that they were the original people that were on that land, or did somebody conquer that land, say it's mine now, and build their nation?
I see what you're saying, but I also do think that I think it is pretty much a fact Native Americans weren't treated right.
No, of course not.
They
I'm
weren't.
not,
Like, they
not
were
disagreeing with that at all.
slaughtered.
But again, Ian, if your first thing when you like the conquistadors, when they came here and the first thing they saw was the Mayans slitting someone's throat, ripping out a heart, and sacrificing a child to a god, what would you think you were witnessing?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
It's and it's super hard for us to put where we are right now and put us in that time period, because we're looking at everything through this time period's lens.
Yeah.
You got to think about, try and put yourself into that moment, coming to a new world for the first time, and meeting people that you think you're going to start building relationships with, and then you see them do this to people.
Okay. From that's a different angle.
If your first day of college, you walked into the lecture room, and the first thing the professor did was sacrifice one of its students, would you be going to class the next day?
I'm out. I'm not going to that class. Nah, I'm out. Yeah, I'm out of that class.
So
even if he told why he or she is sacrificing, I'm probably not gonna want to stay in the class.
So
But I will agree that free labor did help make the country.
Of course it did. I'm not disagreeing with that. But did we steal this land? No. They conquered the land. There's a big difference between conquering and stealing.
What do you mean by conquer? Like just won it?
Yeah.
You discover it.
They discovered it. They came in. They were able to to defend the land and keep it and protect what they said was theirs.
That's a different angle. Vito. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's a different angle.
Uh-huh. Nobody thinks of it from that way. Everybody thinks of it, oh, there was a bunch of Native Americans here. People landed, killed them all, and now we're just taking the land. That's not what happened. In some instances, probably did. But there was a lot of instances where the Native Americans and the Europeans worked together. Because if they literally just wanted to murder and destroy all the natives, we wouldn't even know Native Americans existed. You see my point?
That's a different angle, Vito. That's a different.
Yeah, like Jimmy J says here. Very
That's
interesting discussion.
that is.
I love it when Vito always sees it from a different angle.
Yo, that's a different angle.
Yeah.
So I understand why they're seeing it from this perspective, but I completely disagree. From the reasons.
But you
I just
know
laid
what?
out.
And you know why you'll never get a utopia? That's the exact reason why. Everybody sees something from a different perception.
Yep.
So that way, if you, the only way you can get a society to have a utopia, everybody has to see something from the exact same perspective.
And that's called communism.
And you'll never, you can't, that's impossible.
Not unless you kill all the people that don't agree with you.
Yeah, you can't.
Ian, you just discovered what communism is.
Like, you can't do that. But see, here's the thing. Just because you have different perspectives, then they're going to say, okay, which perspective is racist versus not? Like, everybody has a perspective.
Mm-hmm. That's
Not
why
only
you're
that,
supposed to let everybody's perspective get out there and talk amongst
tough.
each other
not
and
only
figure out
that,
which one is the
but
best.
Every family has to be the same exact way when they're raising
Yeah.
their kids. That's the only way that people are going
It's
to
not
see
gonna
the
work.
same perspective.
It's like
No,
religion.
I know.
It's
No,
like
no,
religion.
Just adding to what he's saying.
Yep.
It's the only way that's gonna work, but we don't want that. We want different.
Not even that. Even people who sit there and listen to the same sermons have a different view of what's
They're
being
going to
said.
interpret it,
Yeah.
Right.
Not all Christians believe in the same thing.
Exactly.
Not all Muslims believe in the same thing.
Exactly.
Everybody interprets something differently.
And
And
then
you
you learn why.
That's why you nailed it right in the head. That's why communism will never work, Ian. That's why socialism will never work.
There's too many perspectives in the world.
Yep.
Too extra.
Jimmy mind blown. You don't know what to do now.
From the true owners of the land, right? Eventually, you had industrialization and all, but even then, until the beginning of the 20th century, black people, men, women, children, were sold along with animals, livestock, goats, bulls, cows. That's how they were sold, like animals. Families would be broken up. There used to be men who were used for breeding women to produce lots of black children as slaves. And then those families would be broken up as soon as the child is a few years old, sold somewhere else. Imagine how horrifically wrenching it will be for a small child to be uprooted from your mother and father and sold away somewhere as if you're a dog or a cat. So that's the kind of societal background, cultural background, historical background this country has. And then there was the segregation. Even after slavery was abolished, there was a whole civil war for that. The North wanted slavery to be abolished. The South still wanted slavery because they depended on the slave labor for their economy. The North was more industrialized that they did not want it. They went to war for that. The South seceded. Whole story there. That's a different topic. But eventually the North won. Slavery was abolished, and yet they got no real rights. The blacks were still segregated. They were still second-class citizens until the 1960s. John F. Kennedy.
Which party was doing that to them? The party of Jim Crow.
Yeah, man.
The party of the KKK. People don't realize that, but it was members of the actual Senate.
If you ask
was
me,
part of
man,
the-
Lyndon B. Johnson only signed the shit to stop the rioting.
What did he say? We're gonna have those N-words voting for us in the next 100 years.
Lyndon B. Johnson, I don't think he really wanted it.
He was one of the biggest racists in the White House.
He just signed the shit to stop the rioting from happening.
Yep.
Abolished that, and he gave people equal rights. But even then, there was a lot of racism for the longest time. Even now, the blacks in some ways are still not quite as equal as everybody else.
I just want to put a disclaimer here. If there are black people watching
I don't agree
this,
with that either.
African Americans, or
Because-
from wherever in the world you are, understand we're talking about this from as empathetic a standpoint as is possible. Trust me, even Indians face an insane amount of racism all over the world. There's nothing compared to the kind of racism that African Americans and
Yes.
their ancestors have faced. But we do come from a place of
Pause
empathy.
that. Don't believe that for a second either. You could try walking around in China, and I bet you would see more racism than you've ever seen in your entire life in this country. If you and I went to China tomorrow,
Yeah,
Ian,
probably. Yeah, probably. But China a little different away.
if you and I went to
China a
North,
little different.
if you and I went to North Korea,
Oh shit, they might not like me. I heard Europe kind of fucks with us though.
no,
Like Amsterdam don't fuck with us.
no, they're super racist. They're the elite. They're the elite types of racism.
All right, like okay, for example, who do you think is like the most like discriminatory countries?
The Dutch.
Damn, he said answer that quick as shit. Vito, damn.
Probably the most
I didn't know
racist.
that.
The most racist are the Danish.
Is that like,
No offense to the Danish people, but that's
is
just
that your opinion, or is that what you've seen?
that's from what I've seen and from listening to Timmy and everything else from traveling.
A factual.
Yeah, from
Okay.
Tim Pool. Yeah,
Damn. Why the Dutch don't like us?
you know that fake racist, the fake nice,
Yeah.
where they talk down to you. That's what they do. If you met a Dutch person,
don't
they
like
would start
that.
talking to you like you're 5.
Oh, I don't like that. Like,
I don't like
I'm
that.
a child and
Yeah.
can't understand shit.
Yeah.
If you
I don't
move
like
to
that.
a Danish country and try to get a job, good luck.
But see, here's my. This is what I don't get. What is the root of racism? Like, why? Why don't we like people?
Because you look different than me. That's the reason.
Like that's the whole thing. Oh, I don't. You look different than me, so I can't like you.
No, that's just the basis of the. That's the whole. You just wanted the basis.
Because
of
I kind of want to understand like racist people. To the racist people out there, why do you think you're superior? What makes you think you're superior to others?
a lot of people, it's that they think that they're less than. It's the same thing when a rich person looks at a poor person.
See, now I can understand that. You think, oh, that person has less money. Okay, they're
Yeah.
inferior. They're not capable of doing something.
Exactly. And that's how the Dutch and how most Europeans look at black people.
But that's crazy. Like, just because of your skin color,
Yep.
we're going to say this person is inferior.
Yep.
The social class argument makes more sense than skin color.
Yes, it does.
Because, money, resources, all that. That makes more sense. The whole you're inferior or you're superior because of your skin color, that, to me, there's no ration behind it.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
It's crazy how that whole belief has been carried for so long when there's no rationale to it.
And it probably started in caveman times.
Like, that's crazy.
It probably did. It started way back then where they looked down and said, ooh, 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 ooh.
But, like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. Especially because, again, when you look at it from today's lens, it looks even crazier.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's insane.
Yep, I agree.
Whew.
Anyway, let's go on, sir.
Now the problem is this. The United States has a mixed population now. Everybody has some black ancestry.
Yup.
All African American people have some white ancestry. The question is, whom do you hate now? If you want to hate the ones who oppressed you, but you have some of that in you. That's the crossroads the American society has come to.
Dude.
There is no
Tell us.
pure black person or pure white person in the US. Everybody is to some extent mixed.
What we did the ancestry thing. What am I? I'm black. I'm European. Filipino, Native American, Scottish. Well, that's probably European.
Yeah, that's probably European.
But like,
Yep.
oh, let me hate all white people. You know how stupid that sounds?
See, you're not even African American, Ian.
Nah,
When you think about it, you're not even African
Bro, I'm
American.
black. I'm just
Yeah,
black.
you're
I'm just black.
plain
You're an
old
American.
black.
Because you can't even have ancestry in Africa.
I think a lot of our family mostly comes from Europe.
Europe, yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
So if you even want to be technical, you're not even technically an African American.
I think like when my dad did the thing, it was like 22%. No, yeah, it was like 22% African American, and then the other one was like 25% European.
No
and my
shit.
dad looked at it, he's like, "Damn, we more European
Being
than
an
African."
African. That's insane.
That is insane.
That's an insane to think about. That
Like
you
that-
would technically would even classify yourself
Yeah.
as an African American.
Like that's. I've never been to Africa.
No, you're a black American.
Yeah,
I'm a white American. You're a brown American.
you don't be acting brand new trying to fix this shit. You from here? Okay, yeah, you from here, Liz?
Of course I am.
We can remove the colors and just call ourselves Americans.
Yeah, I don't understand
exactly.
what
We
the
don't need to
upset-
keep putting the stupid colors in front of
Yeah,
American.
Are we going to when
are
it
we
hits
are
an
we
hour?
finishing this?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, might as well just finish it.
Even the purest
What, to an
white
hour?
person with blue eyes and blonde hair may have 4, 5, 7% black ancestry.
Exactly.
Even the person with the darkest skin may have 5 or 6%.
This is what I said.
When my brother did it, he got 4% African American.
So see what I'm saying?
Oh, he was
That's-
so
that's
funny.
where Hitler
He
lost
was
me,
so
bro.
funny about it
Yeah,
too.
my brother's like, I'm putting out all my applications.
Yeah, like, bro.
Yeah. When he looks like a freaking
He's whiter than me.
blue eyes
Kyle.
and everything. Kyle.
Yeah,
Kyle.
yeah.
You know how Kyle is,
Yeah.
right?
Blonde
It's
hair, blue
so
eyes.
funny.
Bro, honestly,
Has the
I remember
paperwork to prove
learning
it.
about Hitler, right? I remember learning. And when Hitler said the perfect German is blonde hair and blue eyes, I'm over here like, bro, you got brown hair and brown eyes. Like, ain't nobody questioning this?
So Hitler killing himself?
I'm like, oh, but then in reality, I see why you're not questioning it. You're afraid of him.
Oh yeah, terrified of him.
White European ancestry. So today it's a mixed population. So the question is, whom do you hate now? I think it's a collective
Exactly.
guilt for all of them now. There used to be this racist rule in the US called the one drop rule. If a person has even a single drop of black blood, that person is considered to be black.
Yup.
Yep.
That is a ridiculous, illogical rule.
Yep.
Today,
I agree
the
with
fact
that.
is that it's a mixed society.
Yeah.
There is no pure white person, pure black person. Everybody has some European blood, some African American blood, maybe some native blood. Also, the natives are the most marginalized of the lot. They are completely invisible. They are even below. They are the bottom of the social ladder. So even today, there are massive problems in the US. There is terrible inequality. Just even if you talk about the wealth inequality, it's massive. But even if you look at the racism and the social classes that exist, there is so much angst. There is so much anger about what's happened.
Because it's all socially created.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yep. Oh, it is.
It's all socially created. Oh, damn.
I agree. Socially created. all right.
Excuse me. You almost brought down my phone.
Don't make sure you don't unplug anything, my man.
Huh?
Make sure you don't. Oh damn. Where'd you plug into?
Thank you.
Oh. How'd you get that all the way over here, Vito?
That's a long cord, bro. That was right there. That was right there when I plugged in.
Oh, you just unplugged it out of your phone.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I know.
We got
be,
like,
be
what?
worried about me,
We
Vito.
got like
Be-
five more minutes and then we'll finish the other one.
No, I might as well just finish this one off.
Yeah, because this will be sitting up here for
Hey,
another
what time
month.
is it right now?
3
I
o'clock.
don't know. You got a clock in front of you.
It's 3 o'clock.
I don't feel like moving this.
The blacks are still facing all these problems, and the natives are not even spoken about. But certain classes are more privileged now. Now there is this concept of white guilt, that if you're white, you need to be apologetic for that. And now there's all
that's
kinds of other
insane.
weirdness that's come into American society with the rise of what they call wokeism or whatever. So it's a society at a crossroads. It's a society that is dangerously armed. Everybody has weapons. There are more weapons, automatic weapons, guns than human beings in the US today.
Good.
It's a tinderbox. It could go off anytime, and there's shootings happening every day. And I don't know what the causes are, but it's a very damaged society. There's a lot
Good and bad.
mental illness in the US. There's a lot of bullying in the schools, all kinds of problems. So that's where we are in the US today. I wish them healing. I wish them happiness.
I don't know.
All races, all ethnicity.
That's like, I don't know how to fix y'all, but I just wish y'all the best. Like, that's that.
These black people, white people,
But
especially the
what they're
native people.
missing- There isn't shootings happening in where they know the guns are. Most of the shootings are happening because they're going into zones where they know they don't have guns. Almost every single shooting that happens on a daily basis is in a gun-free zone. When's the last time you seen somebody go into a gun store and try to rob it? Don't worry, I'll wait.
Just imagine that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Notice how it seems to be they always go to the spots where they think people are defenseless and can't defend themselves. Ironically, whenever it's usually people that can defend themselves, they don't go there. Why is that, Ian?
Man, I can tell you, I don't got the answer to everything, but I know public shootings fucking suck.
Let me ask you something, Ian. If a sign is posted, everybody here is packing, and the next sign is gun-free zone.
You're gonna go to the gun-free zone.
Exactly.
You are.
It's just, you're going to go to the path of least resistance.
My whole worry is, we need to be careful who we arm, because I ain't against people being armed, but you don't want Uvalde happening again,
No.
where those cops did jack shit.
But if one of those teachers would have been cleared to actually be carrying, Uvalde wouldn't have happened. If a shooter knew that inside those schools, a couple of those teachers might have weapons, not even have them. They just think some of those teachers might have a gun. You think they'd be thinking twice about walking in that school?
They wouldn't, but then you also got to find the teacher who won't freeze up or lose their shit. Because I know I'm going to the most extreme.
You have to, though, in that one.
Case, but
look what the cops did. The cops froze up and didn't do shit.
They did, because I can already see it now. If more teachers get armed, there's gonna get it and it's gonna happen where shooting's taking place. A teacher is gonna freeze up and won't even be able to do anything.
Well, think about it,
the
though.
parents are trying to go in, and then the cops are stopping the parents from going in.
But that was insane. That not letting the parents go in. But think about it.
That kills me every
The
time.
type of teacher that's going to get cleared to be able to carry a weapon around children is probably going to be former military.
Yeah.
Or former law enforcement.
Yeah.
Now, do they have to go into evaluations and
Oh
stuff?
yeah. If you're a teacher,
Mental evaluations.
I've said this before.
Yes.
If we're gonna have teachers carrying in school, which I firmly believe they should be, weekly, well maybe not weekly, probably bi-weekly evaluations, probably weekly training periods where they have to go to where they're going to the shooting range at least once a week with somebody.
Yeah.
And probably every 6 months going through a gun course. Going through like a safety course of how to protect the school. Where you have other teachers that are carrying in school so they know what's going on.
Each school would have to have like a committee for that.
Of course. Too. Of course.
Yeah.
But that takes resources.
It does.
But I would much rather have competent teachers that I know have passed these courses, that I know can act in a situation, than having cops that are going to freeze and not know what to fucking do.
Yeah. Because that was disgusting what happened in Uvalde. That was that was just bad.
Because again, in Uvalde, just that situation alone, if the shooter would have thought that 3 of those teachers in there might have a gun, you think they would have thought about going in that school?
Probably not.
It's crazy.
As much as people don't want to believe it, the best deterrent for a gun is another gun. Not taking away my gun so that way he might not have one. Because guess what? Criminals don't follow the law. That's why they're a goddamn criminal.
Yeah, you can't, and you're never going to stop the black market on something.
Nope.
There's always going to be a black market.
And the more you incriminate your own citizens, the bigger the black market gets.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Who are still marginalized, who nobody wants to speak about. There's a lot of introspection that the Americans have to do. Instead of coming here and lecturing Indians and other people about how we should live our lives, they need to introspect and try to fix their society. Because that is one of the most diseased societies I've seen in the longest time.
I'm going to speak about something I've not spoken about on the podcast yet, which was Veer Das's poem, which he performed in the US, and there was a big controversy around it. I actually wish to host Veer Das on the show whenever I can. I do look up to him as an artist, as a stand-up comic, as a writer. But I'm not completely in agreement with what he did, because he portrayed a dark aspect of India out there on a public forum in America. I think it was called Two Indias, where he spoke about one great aspect of it, about the culture and spiritualism. And then he backed it up with like the Islamophobia and all that the world knows India as today. Every single country in today's day and age is a mixed bag. That's what's crucial. We're not saying that India is better than America or America is not as good as other countries and all that. But the truth is that we live in an age where every single country is a mixed bag. Every single country has its own problems. This particular we'll probably address. Would you like to say anything about those?
Absolutely. So I would like to say something that most people won't like. Many people won't like. I call him a brown coolie. It's not a very flattering thing to say. There are certain people who, in order to curry favor in the West, specialize in what some would say shitting on their own people. You know, You go outside your country and you denigrate your own culture, your own people, and you try to.
Bro, that shit happened. For example, of shitting on your own people. I don't know if you saw it. Michael Rubin. I think his name's Michael Rubin. I think he's the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. He got so much damn hate because he literally said something, the same thing that Meek Mill said. Meek Mill goes, like, he works with prison reform and stuff like that. And Meek Mill's, one of his talking points was that he sees a lot within the black community is we shit on each other just to get ahead.
Yep.
No one had an issue with Meek saying it. Soon as Michael Rubin said it, it was a problem. And I'm like,
it shouldn't be a problem.
and the only reason they didn't like that Michael Rubin said it's because he's white. So even because he said something that's like factually true, you just mad that a white dude said it?
You can't get mad when a white man makes a accurate statement about the black community. The same thing would be true if a black man said something about the white community that was an accurate statement. If the statement is true, you can't hate on the guy for saying a true statement.
Black people, I love my people. We shit on each other. We call each other a sellout for doing what's best for our own family.
Well, you said it before. Black people are more racist towards lighter blacks.
Yeah. I remember growing up, people who are darker complexion, they didn't talk to me. So, they didn't like me. But I'm just like, why?
Which is stupid. That's stupid.
And like no one should be shitting on anybody, man. Especially your own
Not for
people.
no reason. There's reasons to shit on people.
Yeah. Don't
Don't just be like, this first time I fuck that person over there. I don't even know who they are. That's stupid.
Yeah, don't. And what gets me is people be hating just because they see somebody else doing good for themselves.
Yep.
I'm like, you're gonna shit on me just because I'm working harder than you?
Bust your ass if you want what I have.
That's crazy, man.
There's so many people that look at the celebrity. I can't stand them because they have 14 cars. Go bust your ass if you want a fucking car. They work.
Like, it's crazy.
And my favorite is the person who inherited money. The people that get mad at them, well, they didn't earn it. Yeah, they did. Just because that specific person didn't, their family busted their ass. And just because they were able to hand it down,
I'm not against that.
that person has to keep going.
I'm not against that. I'm against if you inherited money, don't call yourself self-made.
Oh, yeah, no.
That
that's one
part
thing.
pisses me off. Like, no, the money was given
My
to
point
you.
is the people getting mad at the person who has the money just because they got it.
Yeah.
Just because their family has been working for generations and that person is reaping the benefits of what their family's been busting their ass for, someone has to be the first.
I feel you.
Eventually, someone down the line gets to reap the rewards.
Yeah.
If you're the first one in your family to start busting your ass, guess what? Your great-great-grandchildren get to reap the benefits of that.
I agree with that. I can understand that.
I hate it when people get
But
mad
don't be no silver spoon motherfucker and say, "Oh, I'm self-made." Shut the fuck up.
Well, I'll use Donald Trump as a perfect example for this. People sit there and say he didn't earn nothing. His father gave him the money. His father gave him a $1 million loan that he turned into billions of dollars.
I forgot about that.
His father didn't give him every dime he ever had. His father gave him a $1 million business loan that he had to pay back to his father and turned it into millions of dollars or billions of dollars. That is self-made.
Oh, you had to pay dad back?
It was a business loan, Ian.
Well, yeah, if it's a loan, then yeah, you gotta pay it back.
His father loaned him $1 million.
It's just for him to be responsible. Show him responsibility.
Because
of
it
paying
saved
him
the
back.
family money than going through a bank.
Yep.
If your father was able to give you a business loan and you were able to turn it into billions of dollars, would you say you're not self-made because your dad gave you the money? If your dad gave you $1,000, Ian, and you turned it into $1 billion because your dad gave you the money, you're not self-made?
I see what you mean because I had to work. I worked to flip the 1,000 into money. That,
Yep.
Personally, me, you know me. I don't brag. So
No, I
to
know.
me, I would not like to call myself self-made. But I see in the rationale, I understand what you're meaning by it.
No, you would
The
say my father
1,000
got me the start, but I earned what I had. That's what you
I
would
had
say.
to work to flip the 1,000 into $1 million.
Yeah. It didn't just sit here with $1,000 and it created $1 million.
It didn't
by
do it
itself.
on its own. Someone had to invest it and flip it.
Exactly. Someone had to work it. Someone had to be on the ground, moving everything around, making the proper decisions to keep growing.
So I see your rationale behind that.
Now, what I agree with is the family that the person that inherits hundreds of millions of dollars doesn't work, doesn't try
Yeah,
to
shut the
flip
fuck up.
nothing,
You ain't
and sits there
self-made.
and says they're self-made. No, you're not.
No,
you're,
yeah,
you're reaping the benefits of what you're
but
family.
shut the fuck up. You ain't self-made.
Your family is self-made. Your father is
Like
self-made.
you a trust fund.
You ain't shit.
You a trust fund, baby. Shut up.
That's what I mean by that. But
Well-
in the same token, if the kid that inherited $100 million, if he takes that money, flips it, and now he's worth $1 trillion, yeah, that's self-made. You took what your family had earned and built on it. Whether you take $10 and build on it or
I can
$100 million and build on
I
it,
can understand
you got to
that.
build on it.
I can understand.
But you're not
that.
self-made until you've built it.
I can understand that. I can. When you put it that way, I can understand that.
Because then think about it. What's the difference if you walk into a bank and get a loan or if you walk into your father's office and get a loan?
You still got to pay the money back.
Thank you.
Unless your parent just says, fuck it, don't pay me back.
Which they might have, but still, that doesn't matter. It's
But-
still family.
Yeah.
You're reinvesting the money into the
But
business.
the bank's going to want the money back.
Either way. Even if you're paying your family back, you're just reinvesting it into the business.
I see what you mean by that.
So I
Try
get
to
what you're saying with
amplify
I get
that.
what you're saying with the self-made thing, but you got to be careful with that because you can be self-made even if you come from money. But you have to make the choice to be self-made.
You got to keep working for it.
Exactly.
I can understand that.
Too many people want to put blankets on everybody.
Overall impression that the people in that country have about India. So if you look at the overall depiction of India in the Western media, in the US media, whether it's the Washington Post, whether it's the New York Times, they always try to denigrate India. When India did this world record of 103 satellite launches in one rocket, they put up this cartoon of India trying to enter the elite space club with a cow. Right? So they always try to put this colonial backward image of India. And that's how they would like to see India. It's a very Hindu-phobic image of India. India is a backward country with a primitive, barbaric, pagan culture where you have whatever phobia and women are downtrodden and minorities are downtrodden. These are all lies. I disagree with this completely. And Veer Das, in order to become famous there, went there and made all these statements on a public stage, which I think is shameful. He should be ashamed of himself.
I want to quote Joe Rogan as well. Joe Rogan constantly talks about the media world in America being entirely governed by the left wing. And for the record, I feel I'm personally centrist. I'm not on either side. That's just my political opinion from a overall, even international perspective. I feel, why should there even be two wings? There's probably a little bit of good on both sides. But Joe Rogan himself has said that most of the media world, Hollywood, the television industry is very kind of tends to left in America. Most of it, other than I think Fox News, which is leaning towards right. And in Hollywood circles, in acting circles, in these kind of circles, basically the media world of America, you have to say the politically correct things,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
in that particular circle is stuff that would please the left wing.
Yes.
And
That's
maybe this
true.
is an
That's
echo
true.
of that
That's
same.
true.
Maybe. He
It's
just
true.
wants to succeed there.
Because
shouldn't- it shouldn't be
girl,
that way.
one girl from the Scream movie, I think it was last year or a year and a half ago, she
For
got
what?
fired just because she said "Free Palestine."
Look at Gina Carano. She posted a meme.
Yeah.
Why do I know that? Should I know that name? Gina?
The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian.
What was the meme she posted?
The telling on your neighbors is just the Nazis. It was what the Nazis used to do. That was during COVID when they were doing the phone call to call on people if you see them without a mask and stuff. And she
Oh
just
my
posted,
goodness.
"This is what the Nazis used to do." And they,
I mean, that's the only reason. Anne Frank got caught. Somebody snitched her ass out.
But then, so
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah, she got snitched
She
out.
was in the attic, right?
Because she
Yeah.
was comparing what they were doing to the Nazis, they fired her.
It's honestly, it's turning in. You're not allowed to have an opinion.
Exactly.
That's what it's turning into.
He's an outsider. He wants to become one of the inner circle. And to do that, you have to please them, whoever is in power. You cannot say things they won't like. Otherwise, you will get no visibility whatsoever. And you will be out. To get in, you have to play the game. And you have to act the part. And so he's willing to do that. He's fine to do that. I mean, whatever, for good or bad, he's doing it. He's succeeding. He's getting invited for podcasts. I'm sure that he's a reasonably well sought after comedian. I don't find any of his comedy funny. Comedy is funny when you're not making fun of a certain class of people or a certain group of people. When you're making fun of human nature, that's when you're funny. I understand what comedy is, what humor is.
I get what he's
when you make fun
saying.
of yourself, that's funny. When you make fun of
When you're making fun of everybody, it's hilarious. But if you're just targeting one person, you're going to be less likely to be funny.
Of course.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
human nature as a whole, that's funny. When you make fun of a certain political segment of society, it's not funny, it's unfunny. So I don't understand this political humor. When you're just trying to appease one certain
Yeah, 'cause
political
you're
class
just-
of people,
yeah, I
that
can
is
understand
not
that.
funny whatsoever. That's politics. You're just
Yeah.
pandering to politics when you do
yeah,
that.
that's
And that's
the
what
point.
Vidas is doing. I don't think he's a talented comedian. I think I don't have a high regard for him. Others may disagree. That's fine. It's my personal opinion.
I actually want to invite Vidas on the
You
show.
should go ahead and do that.
Yeah, like,
hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I want to know what his perspective
Yeah, yeah.
was, honestly. Like, no matter how much we know about this situation, maybe he has his own side of the story.
I'm sure.
I believe he hadn't entirely grown up in India. So maybe the picture he has of India as a culture is kind of driven from the narrative he got growing up.
Neither did
wherever
I
he-
grow up in India fully. I spent part of my formative years outside the country.
How is that? How is it like growing up outside India as an Indian?
You know what? When I was growing up outside of India, in Europe, in Switzerland, I was, to be honest, ashamed of being Indian. India had a very, very negative portrayal in Europe. India was regarded as a place of incredible poverty, incredible backwardness, backward culture, primitive culture, misogyny, backward religion. Hinduism is dirty and it's all that sort of thing. So I never spoke about being Indian, about my culture or anything. I was kind of ashamed of being associated with India. That's how I grew up for a few years. It's only after I came back to India and I traveled to other places, I got a more 360-degree worldview. And then when I started studying and researching history and all of that, that's when I started understanding what India really is. And that's when I slowly began to realize all these portrayals are lies and distortions, and they have a certain agenda behind them.
You know what's amazing?
This is what I feel about
Everything that he's talking about, how he feels about India, is exactly how I feel about America. Once you actually read the history and actually understand what's going on, the way you perceive America is nowhere near what they're acting like it is today. So it's amazing how his perspective on his own country is identical, well, it's pretty opposite of how he feels like America is. When he talks about the perspective of his country, it completely changes, and he's on super defensive mode now. You see what I mean? Because how he's talking about India is how I would talk about America. Is it perfect? No. But if you actually sit there and learn and actually see through the history of our country, this is the best country in the world. But you have to actually take the time to understand America, to appreciate America. If you just look at
there's certain parts of, like, just speaking from being an American citizen living in America, there's certain parts that they purposely try to hide so you don't know it.
Oh, of course. Because they try to distort your view.
Yeah.
They don't want you to love this country anymore. They want you to find reasons to hate this country. And lock into those reasons and keep those reasons at the forefront. And that's wrong.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to... It's like programmed thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's programmed thinking.
But I just wanted to point out
It's...
how he's talking about America versus his own country. That's unique. Which I expect it because he's Indian.
Yeah.
He should be talking about his country that way.
Yeah.
And he should be looking down at another country that he feels.
Like, I'll say this. I'm born and raised in America, my perspective is going to be a lot different from a family than from someone who immigrated here.
Of course.
It's going to be a lot different.
100%. Your perspective is going to be a lot different than, say, someone who came here from South Korea.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot different.
Or even someone who moved here from Mexico. It would still be different.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of the left wing in our country, but they've not traveled in the interiors as much.
I haven't traveled in the interiors of India. I've traveled outside of India. I have not explored India anywhere as much as I would want to. But I have explored India through writings, through my scholarly activities, through years and hundreds and thousands of years of study and researching history. Not just Indian history, but world history. That kind of puts you in the perspective of the entire world and what happened there. When you see the effect of colonialism with other countries, in Africa, in South America, in North America, even the effect of colonialism itself in Europe itself, because the true culture of Europe has been wiped out, which nobody realizes. So once you start to see all of that, then you realize what the patterns are and you start to understand what the distortions are. Because the same assault that was done on Europe's pre-Christian culture happened later on in India. The same tactics, the same brutality, the same attempt to portray the Indian culture as primitive and barbaric. It has to be replaced by something superior. So once you study all that, you get a better understanding of things. So even though I spent some of my formative years abroad, I now have a different idea of how things are based on actual data.
Before we move on to talking about Trump and Biden, which are our final segments, I do also want to ask you about the positives about USA, because I'm sure there are American viewers somewhere who are kind of questioning if we're just here to bitch out the country. It's not the case. We're doing a commentary. We're trying to keep it as objective as possible. Keep in mind, this is a scientist, a historian we're speaking to. I also recommend you go check out all the other geopolitics episodes to really understand where we're coming from when we're speaking about all these concepts. We'll link it down below. Do you want to speak about some of the positives of America? For me, Silicon Valley is always going to be at the forefront in the world of startups, in the world of technology. Would you like to highlight anything else?
I think the US has been a driver of innovation in the world. Many of the technological breakthroughs that we all enjoy today have come from there. It used to have a culture of high achievement, a culture of pushing yourself beyond the limits, of aiming for the top, of never settling for second best. And the lifestyle is about freedom over there. It's about freedom, it's about individualism. I am kind of a black sheep in Indian society. I am more of an individualistic person, even though I have the greatest of respect for Indian culture and society. But I personally am kind of a person who loves freedom, more individuality. I like the wide open spaces that America has to offer. You can take a car and go for an all-night drive without encountering too many people. And you can, if you have the money, you can do whatever you want in that country, as long as you don't break the law. So there are lots of positives in the US. The people are overall a good people, broad-minded, happy people, welcoming people. I personally have not faced too much racism in the US. Sometimes I've felt that I was not quite welcome in some places, like in the interior of the US. But on the coasts, it's a very different society. It's a very different attitude. So there are so many positives that the US used to have to offer. It still has so many good people. It still has so many brilliant people. Lots of Indians go there to work and they excel and they rise to the top in the US. If
bro,
the US was that
let me tell you, bro. And this is not to be discriminatory, bro. Gas station down the street from my crib. I walk in there. It's a nice Indian family. Bro, I walk in there one day just to get some gas. Man is just counting stacks. And you can hear the paper. He just counting stacks. Happy as can be. Just they all greeting hello when everybody comes in. I'm like, I've never felt so broke in my life. I was like, damn, this man getting paper.
All in about it.
Follow me. Enjoy my videos full of excitement. I follow you. Folks, Mickey? I'm saying your name wrong. I'm sorry, but appreciate the support. We get a lot of people asking us to check them out, so it takes time. We're not saying no.
I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah.
We'll definitely try.
Liz about to write you down.
I should make a checkout section.
Phobic, that would not
I'm gonna
happen.
do that.
So there is an element of good also in that society. They value value. They value a person who has talent. They value hard work. There's a lot to learn from that country. And I certainly wish this country nothing but the best. But this is just a commentary about what we are seeing, but I wish that country the best. I really like the country. I've been there multiple times. I've lived there on occasion. It's a great place.
The brutal truth is, between you and China, we'd always pick you. that's the honest truth, and which is why we have to speak about China, Edward Snowden, these angles where cyber warfare has become a thing.
Damn, that's
I think we briefly touched upon Obama. It is time to touch upon Trump. How do you look at him actually winning the election against Hillary? How do you look at his legacy of 4 years?
I think it was an accident that nobody anticipated. See, Trump is an outsider. He's not a politician.
Yeah,
He's an
that's
entrepreneur.
true.
He's a businessman. He's a high achiever. And he got into the political race out of a hurt ego or something, right? And nobody expected that he would resonate, his message would resonate with the people, and he would actually end up winning the election. Nobody liked him among the political class. His own party despised him. When there was this motion for impeachment, his own party voted against him, some members of his party. And because of that, he was impeached. The impeachment succeeded. Now, how do I see Trump? I see him as a failure. Why do I see him as a failure? Because none of the policies and the objectives he had listed at the beginning, none of those he was able to achieve. He could not build the wall. He could not destroy China via the trade war. Various other things he wanted to do. Nothing was achieved. He was not able to achieve that because his party and the opposition both were against him. They say that the US president is the most powerful man in the world.
That's not true.
This guy was in power. He was the president. What happened? He was in office, but he was never in power.
Yeah.
Somebody else was running the show all the time. That tells you the brutal truth about the US. This guy was in office for 4 years. He was able to achieve nothing. It's not like he was incompetent. He could not become
He achieved
that
a lot in
rich
4
by
years.
being incompetent.
Yeah.
He certainly knows how to get.
He achieved a lot in 4 years. He actually did shore up the border wall.
He started to.
It's amazing the
started
look
building
from
it.
people from outlooks that see it. The economy was being built back up. People were getting back to work. Everybody remembers 2020 where it got destroyed. But up to 2019, the country was roaring. We were energy independent, which means that we were supplying the world with more oil than even Saudi Arabia. Gas was under $2. People were actually able to start businesses and flourish at a low level. Trump got the Abraham Accords. He had peace in the Middle East. He walked across the demilitarized zone in North Korea, which we're technically still at war with.
That's true.
So I completely disagree when he says Trump is a failure.
But see, here's the part that I will give Vito credit. He's at least still listening. He's not just walking away.
No.
It's getting to a point where, like, when some people want to criticize,
They shut it off and say, I'm not dealing with this guy.
yeah, you can't. See, that's not how you move society forward.
No, this guy's a very smart guy, and
Yeah.
I just disagree with his points.
Yeah. So like,
get things done, and yet he was able to achieve nothing. It's because of his status as an outsider who accidentally won the election. And this is a mistake they will never allow to happen again. It won't ever happen again.
He
Do
got
you
a lot-
believe in
he
the
got a lot done
conspiracy theory
domestically.
that Russian and China?
what's up?
Not to mention the opportunity zones for African Americans in low income areas that he was working on with Tim Scott. There's a lot that Trump did that he doesn't get credit for. Taking out Soleimani, destroying ISIS.
That's right. He did take out Soleimani. Yeah.
There's a lot that Trump did that he doesn't get credit for.
There are several. I don't want to say several. Multiple things that Trump did do that did benefit the United States. So, as someone who, the resident person over here, who don't really pick a political side, I think it's unproductive to the entire, like, progression of the United States to say Trump did do anything for the country. I can't say that.
If he did nothing and people actually saw that he wasn't able to get things done, why would he be nominated right now to be rerunning? DeSantis would have blown him out of the water. If his record was he did
I
nothing.
can't say Trump didn't do anything. But I do agree that a large amount of why it seems like he didn't do more is because
his own party.
His own party, both the Republicans and the Democrats.
Oh, they were blocking him at every time.
So like I can understand that.
And then the last year of his being the president, COVID.
Yeah, you had a once in a lifetime pandemic came through.
So then that just whatever other policy he had or any plans he had, it's just he had to put that on the side because what happened with COVID.
Chinese hackers were behind his win.
Yeah, bullshit.
What do you think the truth is?
See, when Trump wins, it's Russia. But when Biden wins, there's no Russia. How does that happen? Be consistent at least in your claims. If Russia interfered in 2016, they would certainly have been able to interfere in 2020. If they have the technological know-how to do that in 2016, in 4 years, their technological know-how will increase by a duration of 4 years. And they would certainly be able to do the same thing in 2020 as well. So how did Biden win? So now they say that the Russians could not do anything in 2020. Now the midterms are coming. Now again they're claiming Russians will interfere. Decide once and for all what's happening. Are they interfering or are they not interfering? Or are they interfering only when you lose?
I am chilling. Just chilling with Frontier Fiber Internet and YouTube TV. I'm not.
So I don't believe in this nonsense.
How do you perceive Hillary Clinton in this whole fiasco?
Well, if Illuminati exists, then she's part of them.
Oh, okay. So this is during the time when it was Trump versus... Okay.
Trump versus Biden, yeah.
No, Hillary, I think, isn't it?
No, Trump versus Biden.
Was it Trump? When was this?
2 years ago.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, this is true. Yep, you're right.
What makes you say that?
Well, see, she is immune to everything that you throw at her. No charges stick. And she certainly finds her way into various positions of power. Even when she is not in any formal position of power, she still seems to be very powerful. She's very well connected. So is her husband. And there's something that transcends the political divide in the US. At the end of the day, they're all in the same boat kind of thing.
The deep state.
Yeah, deep state, whatever you want to call it. Over time, if you observe these events, you see certain patterns that you can't really back up with data, but you can see them, you know?
Keeping the deep state in mind, how do you think it perceives Hillary Clinton, Obama, Trump, now Biden?
It perceives Trump as a nuisance and it's got rid of him, and he's lucky that he's still alive, unlike 1966, if that was true. Kennedy. How does it see other powerful politicians as tools?
I kind of agree with
pawns?
They took a shot
That's
at
all.
him.
No,
And Obama, according to
Obama
and what I'm still saying, by him moving his head, the man lucky.
Like he just said, this was 2 years before Trump. They took a shot at Trump.
And even 2 years before that, he's saying he's lucky to be alive.
Yep.
I'm gonna say that honestly.
And then they took a shot at Trump.
I agree. Trump's still lucky to be. He's lucky to be alive.
Oh, he is lucky to be alive.
No, yeah.
He's very much on the team. if it is the truth, you know, if the deep state is indeed a thing.
Okay. Face of the team.
Yeah, for a while. And now he's one of the backroom workers, you know, one of the more powerful people. He knows how things work. Yeah, he's been there for a while.
Biden?
Oh, Biden, I don't know what to call him. He's hardly conscious. He falls off bicycles. He doesn't know what he is saying. He shakes hands with invisible people. When he's saying something, by the time he's come to the end of the sentence, he doesn't remember what he was saying at the beginning of the sentence. He's barely coherent, barely conscious. So I don't really take him very seriously.
So here's my question. If the president of America is the leader of that country, he's also very likely the face of the branding of that country. When you think of America, you will think of Obama in 2008. You will think of Trump in 2016. And you will think of Joe Biden now. So how could the deep state want someone like Joe Biden to actually become the face of the country?
It's a very interesting question. It's perplexing because I remember when I was a kid, there was this summit between the US and the USSR in Geneva. I think it was in 1986. Ronald Reagan from the US, Mikhail Gorbachev from the USSR. And Ronald Reagan was the older guy, so he would have appeared weaker. But he dressed in such a way that he appeared more dynamic and more youthful than Mikhail Gorbachev. And he made it a point to look better than Gorbachev. So the American state, the American presidents have always been very conscious that they should appear their best. And they should put the best foot forward. And it's all about representing the country and being the face of the country and enhancing the brand. Which is why it's very perplexing that they have somebody like Mr. Biden as the president. The only answer I would be able to give is that if the deep state is truly in charge of everything, then possibly they no longer care how the world sees them. That's the only answer I would have to give, nothing else. They no longer care how people perceive them. They're just going to go ahead and do whatever they wish to do.
Yeah,
Or maybe a female president is getting elected
Probably
next.
exactly.
Maybe it's the prelude to bringing in a female president. That white men are now passé. We don't need them anymore. See what happened the last time. Let's get in a female president now. And maybe, hopefully, a
makes
black
sense.
president. Black female president. Maybe.
Kamala Harris.
Maybe Kamala. Wow. Just imagine that. Imagine Lady Kamala as the president.
Looking over.
That could very well happen in a couple of years. 24. Who knows?
How do you think Joe Biden's legacy is shaping up as of now?
I don't think he has much of a legacy to leave behind. I think it's all about inflation. The inflation has gone beyond, it's gone out of control ever since he came to power. Essentially, everything Trump said would happen has happened. So I think if it goes like this, he's gonna end up being remembered as somebody who's even weaker than Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is considered to be one of the weakest and worst presidents of the past 100 years. If it continues like this, Joe Biden will be remembered as even worse than Jimmy Carter.
Vito, why?
One last question. This is for American viewers purely and listeners. The geopolitical map of the world right now. China is rising. We've mentioned repeatedly on this podcast how they're looking to surpass USA in around the year 2050. That's what they're targeting. Keeping all the data points in mind, do you think that's likely going to happen? And if it is not to happen, how will it not happen? What will the USA have to do from a geopolitical perspective?
I think the biggest enemy,
I
the
would
biggest
agree.
obstacle China could face is China itself.
Maybe it was by accident.
What's happening right now is that its economy is beginning to stagnate. It had more than a decade of 10% plus growth. It simply exploded. It went exponential for the longest time. It began in the late 70s. It picked up a little bit of steam in the 80s. 90s onwards, it just went like a freight train. Now, what we are facing is that China is beginning to reach the stage of a middle income nation. Now they can no longer afford that incredibly cheap labor to build stuff. So now the economy is kind of slowing down. It's around 5 or 6% per year officially. Maybe it's way lower than that unofficially in the real sense. And the other problem they're facing is that their population is rapidly aging. Their one-child policy is bringing home disastrous consequences now. Every Chinese person is alone. They don't have any siblings. They don't have any uncles. They don't have any aunts. They have no nieces, no nephews. It's a strange society they're living in. And everybody is getting older. The whole nation, the average age is rising. In a couple of decades, it's going to be a graying nation. There'll be very few youth, statistically, as a percentage of the population. That is problematic. A country that has a youthful population always has a great future. India still has a youthful population. The Chinese are facing this demographic disaster. Their economy is also slowing. Their entire premise of replacing the US is predicated on their economy still continuing to grow, their military becoming more powerful, and their continuation of putting out dynamic leaders who can take the country forward. But if these problems continue to accumulate, the Chinese growth engine may stutter and stop and grind to a halt. It won't completely grind to a halt, but it will no longer be able to take them where they want to be by that time. So that may put the Chinese leadership under a great deal of pressure. Once societal pressures rise, then there is strife in the country. And there may not be, there's already issues with COVID and all that, the very harsh lockdowns they've imposed. There has been open dissent in society. And that's coming out in social media, which is very rare for China. So there are problems. There are cracks appearing. They may still be able to control it right now, but as time progresses, there may be problems that creep up and accumulate and become too large to bear. So then the Chinese may kind of panic. They may decide that whatever we can grab now, let's grab it and go to war. Try to grab Taiwan, grab something else, take over Japan, attack India. They could do something stupid. They do something stupid, a whole lot of dominoes will fall. And then we could have anything that could ensue. So I think that the Chinese could be stuttering right now. They may not be quite on track to achieve what they wish to achieve. They still have the big economy. They still have the industries. But will they be able to sustain it for the next 20 years? That's a big question.
See that I have two really big monitors on here, as well as my tower, which by itself weighs like 50 pounds. Uplift Desk can handle up to 355 pounds of weight. So if I really wanted to, I can totally sit on this thing and use the motor and it will hold my weight. In fact, I ordered an optional hammock from Uplift and I've used it several times if I need a quick little cat nap. The 70-inch desk is just wide enough to fit the hammock underneath. You just climb in, you hit that motor to raise it off the ground, and then you can chill out. My cat loved it too.
Bro, that's high living right there.
I know, our next desk.
Like that's some quality living.
Again, lots more to unpack, but I would actually direct viewers to the first podcast that we did in the series, which is the World War III podcast. I think we did it about 3 or 4 episodes ago. We will be linking it down below. All I want to say right now is, especially for American viewers and listeners, if you all have listened to the podcast till this point, drop your suggestions about future topics. We're here to break down geopolitics even further. Send your questions. Sir, what is your Twitter handle?
Abhijit Chavda.
Okay. I'm at Beer Biceps Guy. Tag us. Send your questions. Send your suggestions. Send your feedback. We are trying to appeal to American audiences, European audiences, African audiences, Australian audiences, and kind of speak about geopolitics from a perspective that traditional news media cannot speak from. So do you have any signing off notes, keeping that objective perspective in mind?
It's always beneficial to look at different angles. And we are speaking maybe from a neutral perspective or maybe from an Indian perspective. But it's a different perspective. It's one that you typically will not see in the West.
No, I appreciate
Recently,
it.
our Foreign Affairs Minister, External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, went and gave a series of interviews in the West. None of that was covered, even though he gives a very different perspective to how the world works, especially in Europe. He told the interlocutors over there that Europe needs to grow up and wake up and realize that Europe's problems are not necessarily the whole world's problems. When you don't think that the world's problems are not yours. So there's a whole different perspective that comes out of India, and India is now a genuine big player in geopolitics. India now matters, whether people like it or not. So it is important for the world to also try and understand the Indian perspective, because we don't see it from those binaries that exist in the West. So that would be great for the whole world to understand things in a more rounded manner.
Fair. Abhijit Chavda, sir. Thank you. This was a fantastic episode as usual. Looking forward to creating a lot more. It's about 12:25 a.m. We've been recording all day to bring you the best possible content. Any last signing off note for the viewers?
Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. All right. That was the final part of our 3-part special on world history and geopolitics. Of course, there's countless more episodes to be created with Abhijit Chavda. This entire series was made keeping in mind the international.
I think we can end it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally ended that. Good conversation, though.
Yeah, it was definitely a good conversation.
Yeah.
Disagreed at certain points. Agreed at the end there when he was talking about things, but yeah.
Let me put the X right now.
Yeah.
That way we know.
But at least we got this one done. Jimmy J, I hope you're happy we completed it for you, brother. Thanks for stopping in and spending time with us today, y'all. Hit that notification bell and give it a share because it does help the channel out.
Please and thank you.
See you guys in the next one.
Later, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.